Arjun had been living his life on autopilot for years without realizing it. Every morning began the same way, with the alarm ringing too early and his hand reaching out to silence it before his thoughts could catch up. He would lie still for a few seconds, staring at the ceiling, already tired even though the day had not started. It wasn't physical exhaustion, it was the weight of repetition, of days blending into each other without meaning. He got ready, left for work, smiled at colleagues, completed tasks, returned home, ate dinner, and slept. Nothing was wrong, yet nothing felt right either. From the outside, Arjun looked stable and responsible. He had a job, paid his bills, and never complained. His family was proud of him because he never took risks and never caused trouble. Friends described him as sensible, dependable, and mature. But inside him, there was a quiet emptiness that grew stronger every year. He often felt like he was watching his own life from a distance, as if someone else was making decisions for him and he was just following along. As time passed, Arjun began comparing his life to others, especially at night when he scrolled through social media. He saw people celebrating promotions, starting businesses, traveling to new places, and speaking confidently about their dreams. He told himself that those people were lucky, that they had support or talent he didn't have, and that it was too late for him to change anything. These thoughts gave him temporary comfort, but they also slowly trapped him. One evening, while driving back from work, Arjun got stuck in heavy traffic. Cars surrounded him on all sides, horns blaring, people visibly frustrated. Minutes passed, then more minutes, and nothing moved. As he leaned back in his seat and looked around, he noticed how everyone was in a hurry, desperate to move forward but completely stuck. Suddenly, a thought struck him deeply. He realized that his life felt exactly like this traffic, constant movement without real progress. The realization stayed with him long after he reached home. That night, sleep refused to come. For the first time in years, Arjun allowed himself to be honest. He admitted that he was unhappy, not because of failure or loss, but because he had been living a life chosen by fear rather than desire. He had always done what felt safe, what others expected, and what required the least resistance. Somewhere along the way, he had stopped asking himself what he wanted. Nothing changed immediately after that realization. Arjun still went to work and followed his routine, but something inside him had shifted. He became more aware of his frustration, his tiredness, and his constant urge to escape. He noticed how easily he got irritated and how often he imagined a different version of his life. Slowly, he understood that he had been waiting for permission to change, permission that was never going to come. One Sunday, while walking aimlessly, Arjun passed by his old school. The gate was open and children were running freely in the playground. He stood there watching them laugh, fall, and get back up without fear or embarrassment. One child tripped, cried briefly, then stood up and ran again. Arjun felt a strange tightness in his chest as he wondered when he had stopped getting back up so easily and when failure had become something to fear rather than learn from. That evening, Arjun sat alone with a notebook and decided to write honestly, without overthinking. He wrote down a simple question: what would I try if I wasn't afraid? The answer surprised him because it wasn't grand or unrealistic. He wrote that he would learn something new and try to build something of his own. It wasn't a complete plan, but it was a direction, and for the first time in years, that felt enough. The days that followed were uncomfortable. After long work hours, Arjun studied and practiced, often feeling slow and incapable. Many times, the old voice in his head returned, telling him that he was too late, not smart enough, and wasting time. Instead of fighting these thoughts, he acknowledged them and continued anyway. Some days he worked for an hour, some days for only a few minutes, and some days not at all. But he did not quit. Weeks turned into months, and no one noticed his effort. There were no compliments, no encouragement, and no visible results. People assumed he had accepted his routine life, but inside, Arjun felt stronger. He was no longer chasing quick success, he was learning patience. He realized that progress was quiet and often invisible, and that growth usually happened before anyone else could see it. Eventually, a small opportunity came his way. It wasn't impressive or secure, and it scared him. The old Arjun would have ignored it, choosing safety instead. This time, he paused and thought about regret, time, and the future. He remembered how stuck he had once felt and decided to say yes. The journey that followed wasn't easy. Mistakes were made, doubts returned, and fear didn't disappear. But even on the hardest days, Arjun felt alive because he knew he was finally moving in a direction he had chosen. Years later, when people asked Arjun how he changed his life, he never spoke about motivation or luck. He simply said that he stopped running from himself. He understood that life doesn't change when circumstances change, it changes when courage becomes stronger than fear. Arjun didn't become fearless, he became honest, and that honesty gave him the strength to move forward. Moral of the story: the biggest reason people stay stuck is not failure, lack of talent, or bad luck. It is fear and the habit of choosing comfort over truth. When you live only to meet expectations and avoid risk, you slowly lose connection with yourself. Real change does not begin with confidence or perfect plans, it begins with honesty. The moment you stop running from what you truly want and take even one small step in the right direction, life starts responding. You don't need to be fearless to move forward, you only need the courage to choose yourself and keep going even when the path feels slow and uncertain.